First of all, I would like the viewers to consider the scale that I'm using for women. She must be intelligent, fair, moral, and dedicated to justice and fair play, and preferably God, from my perspective, to be diplomatic. Think of the difference between a female version of Socrates that pursues virtue, especially in a potential mate, over wealth, and a gum-chewing, gold-digging, passenger seat in a nice car, airhead type of bitch. I also want you to consider that the groups in society, in the political paradigm, and in the cultural paradigm, when you consider the different groups that set trends, the trendsetters, etc., the corporate marketing crowd, and so on, there is an agreement to cheat heroes out of their rightful place and to do things in a way to specifically shun the black martial artist in his true, natural, and uncontrolled form. Therefore, they see the same things in each other that I see in them. They're shallow and they're cowards. They cannot even begin to fathom rebelling as a group or even to begin to organize with heart because of their particularly lamentable and pernicious philosophies. Also, one must consider that it is extremely unlikely that I will ever control reproduction when they consider my arguments, to help them think in a fair and impartial manner. These are the points I would like to present about why they are cheating me. First of all, they are in denial of the natural hero's prowess and sexual passion and the love-related implications of these things. They are in denial of honor and righteousness in a hero and how testosterone relates to this. Testosterone helps refine the mind and not just the body, which is on record. It helps refine the mind in the same way as the body. It produces muscle and it causes weight loss. In the mind, it forces one to take on an aggressive stance, yet to balance that aggression with a refinement of thought. They downplay the unattractive catfishing activities and misleading pics trends that they have set, that it is okay for women to post pictures that misrepresent how they look, and that catfishing isn't that big of a deal. That they, instead of criticizing, rebuking, and chastising other women for these pernicious and deplorable activities, they say, don't judge a woman by her looks, as if misleading somebody doesn't show some of their character. They blur the line for gays and transsexuals with their makeup and their solidarity in the LGBT and feminist movements especially. Their man-child argument reflects deep indoctrination as far as corporate indoctrination, conditioning, and programming and rearing. They say he's a man-child because he lives at home. But that man probably displays a superior form of maturity in that he is not conforming and he is being sabotaged as a political dissident, if he is a political dissident such as myself. So how deplorable is that man-child argument applied to a man of honor who happens to live with his parents because he's sabotaged for doing the right thing? And we all know what it means to be blacklisted and what it means for some rich ninny to say, I'll make sure you never get hired in this town. We all know that they're able to do that and to use their network to sabotage you. We all know about corporate alliances and partnerships. They downplay the significance of the feminist perspective of psychology, feminist psychiatrists, and Margaret Sanger types that want men emasculated and chemically castrated because feminism is an alliance with the LGBT community, and this helps them blur the line between men and women and downplay the fact that the man is better at being the breadwinner and the woman is better at maintenance because of how they are bred and how they are and their chemistry and biology. There's a different mind state in being a man than a woman, and this is part of why women are less capable and qualified for certain jobs. Think about a secretary and how that relates to being a homemaker. Why were they placed there? because they are more qualified for these jobs. Women are less respectable as leaders. They're less qualified for leadership positions, and this is a big problem to the feminist. There are not only cultural considerations that make people not want to sit at the table with women, but women are less reliable. And this is not an overgeneralization or a misconception. This is something that we know to be true. Women are more emotional. They are less reliable. They are more easily convinced because they're the more conformist sex. Therefore, they're less reliable. Moving on. Women downplay the fact that they have been breeding and reproducing scum consistently instead of dying for God. In a predominantly Christian society where the main message of the Bible is to carry your cross for God and to transcend, and you must be in a profoundly masculine spirit, the spirit of the Father, to do so. Not some kind of lukewarm, conformist, worldly, Mother Earth, gender-neutral spirit, but an intense and profound spirit of God, a masculine God. A sun spirit, sun temple, bright morning star, Sunday God, if you will. Of course, men are guilty of breeding as well, but women have a monopoly on reproduction. They choose the man. They choose to have sex with him to the point of being pregnant, and in a manner that causes them to be pregnant. They choose to have the baby, then they raise the baby. They downplay their responsibility for what they call a patriarchy, which is more accurately described as a gynocracy when you consider reproduction and women raising the guy to think that way. If he oppresses women, it's because a woman raised him to oppress women. That is certainly a determinant. And we see that developmental theories, psychosocial development theories, Erik Erikson and other psychologists certainly would agree that child development is key. What makes a serial killer? He was abused as a kid, commonly and at least in popular culture. We know these things to be true, and even if they weren't true, we've accepted them, and so has the feminist. So how can she then turn around and pretend that that women don't raise kids? That men aren't at work and women aren't raising kids. And if the man leaves the household, there's a single parent home and the woman raises the kids either way. Moving on. They downplay that there are feminist leaders with college educations and women's groups that are scientifically studying how to apply their pussy power, and they are adjusting their application as they do so. This is not some groupies who don't know what they're doing. This is a scientific approach to inspiring lust in men, which leads to the rape of more vulnerable women. And unfocused men without a powerful moral code, falling victim to their lust, raping, settling, and selling out to the New World Order for pussy. How can they pretend that is not a direct consequence, a direct effect of what they are doing? They are enforcing social norms on the most mentally harmful level. Women have the most profoundly harmful effect on men. When women don't see you as a man, it is the most powerful way to enforce social norms. It says you are not a man unless you conform. And when a righteous man does the right thing and he doesn't conform, then there is this powerful effect women have on him. You are not a man, you are a man-child. How can they downplay such a thing? They need to be silent. If they don't understand that, they need to be silent. If they are too immoral to admit that and to factor that in, they need to be silent. Either way, they need to be silent. They need to leave leadership to the best man. They downplay the group bashing of good men by women and their friends. They downplay the fact that hypergamy rewards the criminal class and rubs it in while they're snobbing good men. Even if they are not saying anything, their actions snob good men. And we all know actions speak louder than words. They look for men with confidence who are the conformists. The behavior of the young, less established man is to be more anxious and insecure. Why? Because women aren't throwing themselves at him. He doesn't have the money. He's not a pussy magnet. He's less confident. The criminal class, white-collar criminal, is the pussy magnet. Confidence has to do with social status and ability to reproduce. My goodness. It has to do with conformity, social status, and ability to reproduce. They are rewarding the same people they complain about. And even if they didn't, they're rewarding scum. They are guilty of redefining a man in a way that is despicable. They are guilty of downplaying the fact, again I say it, that testosterone refines the mind. Put the test. It puts the man to the test. The mind-body-soul connection, the top martial artist is far above any woman for this reason, because his dick wants him to think with his dick. But he overcomes that and transcends with mind, body, and soul, and he displays the ability to coordinate mind, body, and soul with light contact sparring, and I've overkilled this in my other videos. This is the opposite of a nervous a baby. Okay, the opposite of what they're looking for in a confident, conformist, quote-unquote man, is a nervous baby. Okay? In other words, they are trying to paint the picture that they're choosing this man because he's confident, when he's a conformist. He's a white-collar criminal. He has a certain social status because of his conformity to a crony capitalist state. And we all know the system is corrupt. And what kind of a scumbag is conforming to that system is similar to being a demon or a native of hell. Eugenics is about everyone else. Eugenics is about getting everyone else to settle and to be screened out willingly while convincing the most attractive women to breed with ultra-vile criminal scum, also known as hypergamy. Okay, that aspect of eugenics is also known as hypergamy. They downplay that as well. And if they didn't, why have they shunned me all my life? And everyone like me. We all know this. We don't need some study from some biased liberal university that favors the political paradigm on one end or the other and ultimately on both, because they're like the two wings of a bird flapping in the same direction so that dragon can move in that direction. Flapping in synchronicity, flapping in coordination, in concert. In order for the geeks to convince you that they are more intelligent than the martial artists, they have to dumb you down. Warriors have been bred for tens of thousands of years with the most attractive women to be superior. Natural intelligence versus the artificial Western scale is where most people fall short. That guy isn't just a geek because he's physically inferior. Because when it comes to natural intelligence, he is also inferior because people have been breeding toward natural intelligence, not at the artificial Western scale, for tens of thousands of years. He has been bred to be a warrior and naturally more intelligent than the geek, than the working class, than the we built this city type of bitches. Any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So I also feel that women are being given a sense of power to subdue a man like you, and they will not actually sway to your ideologies because they are following a belief system that doesn't reflect that a man should be given the power to influence women. What they are trying to achieve is that women should have the power to influence the man. And that is something that's very difficult to change in this Western society.
Okay, so leading up to part 2, I suggest you take your time to think about your response. In part 2, I am going to make the argument that no woman should have the right or ability to reject Pharaoh as wife. Not only because he's the ideal man and God's representative on earth, and he has cultivated righteousness through martial arts, and he has proven his righteousness. His ability to come into a spirit of righteousness to outmaneuver, outmaneuver. He's more of a man because of his more masculine quality of accepting the true nature of righteousness and applying it through light contact sparring. The spirit of righteousness. Spar it, spirit, spear fishing, spirit. Okay, the spear of destiny, which is what Hitler was said to pursue. So his judgment to pick the right one should be seen as more important than hers. We have given women thousands of years to do the right thing. Even in patriarchal societies, they had the option to kill themselves or leave. How could they downplay that very straightforward fact? We are at this point of corrupt, cowardly scum everywhere because of women's judgment, not just men's.